Hi everyone, it's Joe here from Lawn Solutions Australia and welcome to this episode of TurfTalk. It's our final episode for the year, and like every year we like to do our year in review, and to do that I've brought Nathan along with me. Nathan, how are you?
Good, Joe. End of year, mate. Bloody hot.
Yep, 37 degrees at the day of recording, so it's really, really hot here. Lucky we've got a little bit of aircon going on here, so we're not too bad.
That's it.
There's a lot going on this year. We'll go through it sort of in section by section, but we're going to start with some internal stuff first. A lot of things people who aren't overly familiar with the Lawn Solutions business may not be aware of, but we'll start off with our expanded warehouse. For those that don't know, we used to share a space with a turf farm down here on the south coast of New South Wales. We've kicked them out. We've moved them across the road, respectfully, and we've expanded into a couple of new sheds, which basically changes how we operate. Now, the new shed space is in order to fill some growing needs of our lawn care business. We've recently picked up a couple of contracts, which means we've had to expand. But with the expansions come quite a few fun little changes. We invested in a new bottling machine. Now, everyone loves the new bottling machine because bottling bottles of liquid fertiliser manually was quite painful, but the new machines improve things quite a bit.
Yeah, I think we've come a long way in the last few years with the production processes involved in some of our lawn care products. I think most people will know of Lawn Solutions Australia as a company that specialised in turf varieties. It's definitely been a push in that area and a lot more releases of products and expansion of that, and having products on the shelves at a range of resellers across the country, and Bunnings has meant that, we've had to expand our production capacity, and the bottling machine's a big part of that. So we did have, some sort of archaic system in the past with bucketing and bottling. But
turning taps on and turning taps back off. But now we put an empty bottle at the start, we press a button and the machine pretty much does the rest. Yeah,
it's a good machine, and it's definitely improved our processes and consistency as well. So the team loves it, and it's made our job and expansion a lot easier.
And it's also made the quality of our product totally uniform. Now, we were, hand sticking labels on there for a while because you got to start somewhere, obviously, but now it's a totally automated process, which is pretty exciting for us and a good thing for everyone involved. And another thing we've done with our shed expansion is being the environmental stewards that we are, we've decided to start recycling some of our cardboard in order to make packaging for our products. So if you're buying some Lawn Solutions products, you will notice in the past we used a lot of bubble wrap and a lot of, I don't even know what you call that, plastic stuffing.
Bubble cell stuff.
Bubble cell. Well done. But what we do now is we get all of our old cardboard, which we have a lot of, and we put it through a cardboard shredder, which makes awesome recycled packaging stuff that's a terrible way to explain it, which makes really good packaging material, basically recycled, torn up cardboard, so we can stick it in our packages. So if you're getting some Lawn Solutions product now and you see that in there, you'll know that we're trying to reduce the amount of plastic we use, which is really exciting. Outside of the shed, we have expanded. Now, you may have seen some of our content before where we're talking on our trial plots. Obviously, we import grasses into the country quite regularly. We grow them out. We analyse them here at our facility in Berry, New South Wales, and we've created a pretty cool little trial setup here. But what we've done recently is we've expanded this trial layout. So it was already a pretty impressive facility, but now we've got something quite unique here. We've got two areas where we have virtually every turf grass that's commercially available in Australia in these areas. So you can walk past and you can see how they directly compare with one another at different times of the year. But what that also enables us to do is companies like Syngenta, Enview, and those other brands that need APVMA approval for new products, they need to be able to spray or treat grass areas with these products and tick all the boxes. So Zoysia, Cooch, Fescue, Kikuyu, Buffalo. There's very limited areas around Australia where you can do that in one pass. We've now got these facilities available. So not only does it provide a great area for consumers to come and look at how products look in the marketplace, but it also gives companies like Syngenta, Enview, and the rest a good spot to test their products out before going through APVMA registration.
Yeah, it's a real evolution that we've gone through with our trial facilities and our areas of grass that we have throughout throughout Lawn Solutions HQ. We need to adapt to everything that's going on a regular basis. So there's constantly changes going on for us in that space. And it's not a set and forget type thing where it just, keep it looking pretty. We've got so many different tests and trials going on our own content purposes as well. So it's constantly changing, and 2026 will bring even more changes again, I'm sure. But at the moment, we're still undergoing some renovations, some turf laying around the office and other areas. We've got a lot of content planned for next year that's going to incorporate a lot of these new areas. So we're excited to see what we can do with it, and just it's a continual evolution of what we do. And also with the impending release of Stampede, which we'll talk a little bit about later on, we've managed to put that around our office in some pretty significant trial areas, and the results of that are super exciting. You may have seen some of that on our socials, but we're pretty excited about what 2026 is going to bring in that regard. Nathan, this is more sort of your domain than it is mine, but we're giving the online lawn store a little bit of a facelift. Yeah, the lawn store's quite a few years old now. It's continually evolving and being updated, but we're at a stage where we're doing a full rebuild of our online e-commerce. So I think that's important to evolve with everything that changes and making functionality as easy as possible for our consumers. Obviously, most of our sales are through Lawn Solutions Australia members who grow and supply turf across Australia. But with an expanding lawn care product range, we need to make our products available as best we possibly can. So that's involved that. So keep an eye out for that in the new year. We're excited for what that's going to look like, and just giving it a revamp so it's a lot more user-friendly than it currently is. No, it's going to be awesome. It's going to have a much cleaner interface. It's going to be easy to navigate and nice and easy for customers to check out, but also, as always, easy for customers to find advice and solve issues that they may be having with their lawn with a couple of clicks of a button. So keep an eye out for that. Now, obviously, Lawn Solutions is big in the event space. We host a lot of our own events, which we'll talk about in a second, but we also attend many other events, and a few of us from the Lawn Solutions crew, but also from our network of growers around the country, were lucky enough to attend TPI, which is Turf Producers International, which was held in San Antonio, Texas, earlier on in the year. We like to think our conference is pretty big and pretty significant, but to see something on an international scale was pretty cool. And it was also held at a place that we're quite familiar with. You may have heard us talk about Blade Runner Farms on here before. David Doge from Blade Runner Farms bred Zeon zoysia, which is Segrange, and a bunch of other zoysia grasses. So the field day was actually there. So it was a field day virtually on zoysia grass, which is really cool to see. It was in February, which is obviously warm in Australia, but very, very cold in southern Texas. So it was nice to see what some of these new zoysia grasses are doing in the environment. Where's TPI in 2026, Joe? We're trying to get a ticket. I think it's in Orlando. So we'll see how we go with that. I don't know how we'll go getting that past the boss, but it's a little bit warmer in Orlando than it is in San Antonio. But it was such a cool event to be a part of. You know, you walk down the laneway and you're talking to people from South Africa, from Europe, obviously from the US. But there was quite a strong contingent of Australian people there, which is really, really cool. Nathan, we'll just have to try and work out how we get on the plane to that next year. Might time it around the same time as Vegas. We'll see. We'll do our best. Go the Dragons. MIFGS, International Flower and Garden Show, is a big one for us. This year was really, really cool. We actually changed our site of where our show garden or our display garden is this year. It was right as you walk into the main gate. So we sort of had the mayor's chair, if you will, when it comes to MIFGS sites. And the show itself was huge. It had over 108,000 through the gate. Really big attendance this year, which was great. Rebound. The biggest one since pre-COVID, I believe, which was really cool. And we took the opportunity to use our big space there to highlight a number of our products, obviously Sawalter DNA certified and TIF Tough, but we also used unmown zoysia grass in a lot of our garden because it looks so good and it really stands out and it drags people in. But it was cool to see, turf grass, but unmown zoysia used throughout a lot of the gardens this year. It's been happening for quite a few years now, but the landscape architects, the landscape design experts, they really enjoy having a grass that they can put on their gardens that's instantly long, instantly looks established. I think there was 7, 8, 9 gardens that featured Segrange. Many of the winners and award winners had it on their gardens, and it looks great, and it's really good to see. It creates a lot of interest to the punters that go along as well. So, zoysia grasses in the Victorian climate have some specific needs. They can go really well, but there's just some considerations there. But I think it's a great way just to spark appeal in turf grass in general, and a lot of people came through the LSA stand through that week. And it's just great to see the interest in lawns.
If you wanted to check out how the unmown zoysia grass looks in these, world-class garden designs, jump on the MIFGS website and go to their gallery, and you'll be able to see sort of the winning gardens or the show gardens from last year, and you'll see Sir Grange zoysia in most of them, which is pretty cool. And just to wrap up, event-wise, we have our annual Lawn Solutions Australia conference. This year it was on the Gold Coast, and it was one of our best attended ever. We had over 250 Lawn Solutions members there, plus obviously all of our trade partners as well. It was an awesome show. Highlights for you, Nath?
I just love catching up with everyone from across Australia. We've got growers in WA, Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, and we don't get to see them all the time. Obviously, we're trying to get out there and about as much as we possibly can, but this is the one event each year where they sort of all come to the one place, and they enjoy catching up with each other, and it's a great way for us to network as a team and improve our processes across the board in the turf industry. And I think that's a great thing that Lawn Solutions Australia is able to do as being a part of a network.
Mm-hmm. So, and not only that is we get the opportunity to invite guest speakers to these conferences to obviously present keynote speakers. We had a guy called Arnold Dix, and a lot of you may not have heard of Arnold, but Arnold was an engineer. He's a lot of things, Arnold, but he was an engineer that rescued some trap miners in India a couple of years ago now, and he come and shared his story, and it was one of the most powerful stories I've ever heard in my life, but so funny and so well put together.
Incredible speaker. At first you wouldn't have thought he was the most professional, but it actually comes across in such a way that it's emotionally takes you on the ride that they took in saving those miners. And an incredible story, but he relates it in such a good way to ways that we can relate it to our own lives and what we can do and what we can achieve as human beings. So he was quite an impressive speaker, and I think quite a few people went out and bought his book afterwards. So check him out.
I got sucked into two of them. But anyway, a couple other trade events. The ASTMA, the Australian Sports Turf Managers Association Conference. Lawn Solutions attends that each year. It was in Sydney this year. Again, I think they had over 1,000 there. It was a really well attended event. We got to catch up with a lot of people from around Australia and around the world in our industry. We did a couple of podcasts there, which was really cool as well. But again, a fantastic event that we love being a part of. And we also held our own event through sort of September. It was a little bit of a roadshow that we held around Australia called The Future of Turf Grass. And you may have seen some material around this. We were lucky enough to have Dr. Brian Schwartz over, who Nathan has just done a podcast with recently. Dr. Brian Schwartz bred TurfTalk and was involved with Australis as well from the University of Georgia. And Dr. Schwartz travelled around with us. We started in Adelaide, the Glenelg Golf Club. Dr. Schwartz talking there along with Mick Bradbury from Syngenta, Scott Rowe, who's been on this podcast before as well about unmown zoysia in the local government space, and Kane James, who as well has been on this podcast talking about TurfTalk and sports fields in the local government space. So we did that in Adelaide. We had a smaller event in Windsor with our growers, and then we went to Maitland to have a local government event. Both Maitland and the Adelaide local government events had over 75 members from local government plus other areas of the industry there, which was really, really cool.
Was there a particular highlight from you, Joe? I know Glenelg was impressive to see. I think we've got some grass at Glenelg.
The Glenelg Golf Club is incredible. If anyone ever gets the chance, we're going to talk about golf a little more in a second because it's quite topical with the Australian Open on at the moment. But
surprised you're not checking the updates of the rounds at the moment.
I was, but the camera's on.
Tea time.
The camera's on, so I can't do it right now. But seeing a Tier 1 golf course in the flesh and being able to walk it is just so cool. And Tim Warren, who's the superintendent there, he's so open and welcoming and allowed us to have our event there and gave us a full course tour beforehand, which I absolutely hated. It was horrible. So, just on the sport, we've got a bit going on at the moment in Australia, and it kind of relates to turf, I guess. Well, we like to say it does to try and get our, justify me sitting there at 3:00 in the afternoon with the cricket on my computer screen. But the Australian Open Golf at Royal Melbourne has been one and done at the time this podcast goes out. But at the time of recording here, it's just... they're just teeing off on day 2, and I don't know if you caught any of it yesterday, but those greens are insane. I don't know if you've seen the ball rolling off the back of them or anything yesterday. It's nuts.
It's a shame we have to come to work, Joe, because it makes it difficult to keep up to date with the sport. But it was a pretty impressive seeing that, and it brings some Australian pride seeing what the golfers like Rory have to say about the quality and standard of the greens here and the Melbourne Sandbelt. So it's exciting to see.
I was actually lucky enough about 3 weeks ago to play Royal Melbourne as a part of a day, and 35 points, mind you. But
talk about an annual highlight right there.
It was a once in a lifetime opportunity. It was really, really cool. And before we teed off, we were obviously there a week or so before the Open started, and they said, the greens aren't too quick today. They're going to be firmed up, and the speed's going to be increased greatly before the Open next week. And I couldn't keep my ball on them. I was like putting on concrete. It was a beautiful course, but for the average hacker like me, it was a pretty difficult sort of day. But to see what they can do with turf grass, their bent grass greens there are incredible. It's a real credit to the team down there. And obviously it's good to showcase it to the world and have golfers like Rory McIlroy in town to see our beautiful sandbelt courses. And the other main sport that involves grass that's on at the moment is a little thing called the Ashes going on. At time of recording, we've just finished day one of the Gabba test, which is the pink ball test. And the Poms did a lot better than I thought they were going to after they were 5 for 2 after about 3 overs.
Yeah, it was a bit of a topsy-turvy day, really. I think they would have liked to have finished a bit better off on day one, the Australians. But overall, it was probably pretty even contest for the day. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the coming days. And as this comes to air, we'll all know what the result is. But within the turf industry, I think it's fair to say that a lot of us are pretty big sports fans, and I think particularly sports that are on grass and golf and cricket and football are a big part of our lives. And it's great that we're able to enjoy that, I guess, through the lens of the turf industry as well. So that's definitely a part of that we get pretty excited about.
And turf matters to these athletes, which is cool to see as well. I know you ever seen a video of Phil Mickelson talking about how the different grass varieties matter with his golf swing and how well they know Bermuda and Zoysia grass and the depths of those grasses. And their knowledge on turf is insane. And I was lucky enough a couple of months ago to do an interview with Alex Carey, the Australian wicketkeeper, who had an excellent day yesterday. He's world class. And just the way he spoke about grass and the importance of a good surface and how they understood couch grass and the height of cut and that sort of stuff. Their grass knowledge is pretty incredible.
He had a nice slide last night going into that catch. Marnus nearly took him out.
Cool. Marnus just gets in the way, doesn't he? But anyway, all right, enough sport chat. Let's get on to a few lawn tips because we're coming into a pretty difficult time of the year for turf management or managing your backyard, particularly if you're on the east coast of Australia now. I know we're a couple of hours south of Sydney, and it is so horrible and dry here at the moment. We've had a lot of wind. There's no moisture in the soil, which has been different to the last 3 years when we couldn't get it out of the soil. We're 37 here today. Berry doesn't normally get over 33, 34, and we've got 3 days in a row where it's getting over it. So it's really important to get your irrigation practices right first and foremost this time of year.
I think some people have put in lawns in the last few years. This is probably the trickiest period they would have encountered as far as rainfall and dry conditions. So some people are probably getting a bit caught unawares, a bit of heat stress appearing that they weren't expecting. So it's a matter of, getting your irrigation right. It's not about smashing your lawn with a heap of water. It's about using it as efficiently as possible. So, morning waterings before those 33 to 37 degree days that are anticipated and just preparing your lawn as best you can is sort of key.
And on a lot of the social pages, particularly some of the zoysia grass pages, zoysia is pretty susceptible to, I wouldn't say drought stress, it's more heat stress, like really quick, short, sharp heat stress. And we see a lot of zoysia lawns drying out, becoming quite yellow. Watering in the morning for most lawns, or all lawns, is super, super important. We do tell you not to water in the late afternoon or evening because of disease issues, particularly if you've got couch grass or buffalo grass. But with zoysia grass, if you do have a zoysia lawn and you're dealing with hot, dry weather at the moment, I would encourage you to do what we call a syringe watering, which is basically very counterintuitive to what we normally say. So pick the hottest part of the day and give your lawn a 10 or 15 minute drink in the hottest part of the day, which is normally between 1 and 3 p.m. Again, with zoysia grass, it's not so much the hydration, it's more cooling it down, which it really appreciates. It's the equivalent of, on a hot day, you're outside working, you just splash a bit of water over your head instead of drinking it, is basically what we're trying to do with the syringe water. So I'd keep that in mind. One other thing I'd like to mention is the use of wetting agents this time of year. Lawn Soaker is ours. Super, super important, particularly if you're on a coastal location and you do have a sandier type soil. They're very prone to becoming quite hydrophobic in these conditions. So I'd have a look at a wetting agent if you see your lawn struggling a little bit.
One thing I'd also like to touch on is I think some people, when they start to see signs of heat stress, they start to question the drought tolerance of a variety. These varieties, when they say they're drought tolerant, it's because they've gone through extensive trials and testing for not just a couple of years, for sometimes 20 years. So the drought tolerance is in the DNA. The heat stress that you're witnessing is an indication that it's thirsty. It's just telling you that it needs a drink. It's not showing that it's less drought tolerant. Yep. It's going to bounce back. You give it a drink, and Zoysias especially have shown this. You give them a drink and they bounce back and they look 100% in 10, 20 minutes, half an hour. So just something to consider. Lawns are just, they're giving you the telltale signs that they just need a drink at some times.
And if you ever do see yellow patches in your lawn, they are quite uniform. Look at a glass pool fence or a big glass sliding door or something you have on your house, because a lot of reflective heat is also the problem, particularly with zoysia grass at this time of year. Go and stand in your backyard at 1 p.m. next to a glass pool fence and tell me how you feel. That's how your grass is feeling, so keep that in mind.
If you notice some grey or bluings type tinge to the grass, it's heat stress, it's not grubs. Seeing a lot of that at the moment, people questioning grubs. Yes, grubs are a big issue and they have been repeatedly over the recent years, but at the moment, right now, we're seeing a lot of heat stress.
And this time of year, generally you're, flat out keeping up with the mowing. It's a little bit different now in most areas because it is so dry. I know I live on a couple of acres and I've got Kaikuyu on an old dairy farm, which normally you physically cannot keep up with the mowing. I'm not having to mow at all at the moment. It is just so dry. But if you are irrigating and your lawn is taking off, because if you are irrigating regularly in these conditions, your lawn will be growing quite quickly. Just remember, mow as often as you possibly can. The more you mow, the better your grass will look. We spoke about sports before and how good the surfaces at Royal Melbourne and the Gabba look. They are mown 2 to 3 times a week. That is the key to getting a dense, manicured, beautiful looking lawn is mowing. It's really important to make sure your mower blades are nice and sharp and you're never taking more than a third of the leaf
That's
off.
Actually a really good segue into our next point, Joe. If you are thinking about having your own Gabba wicket for Christmas, for Boxing Day, these are some great things to consider, and frequent mowing, daily mowing leading up to that, ensuring you've got your moisture right in the soil, and then looking to take that cut down lower so that you can get that really flat surface for a bit of cricket on Boxing Day. It's really important. But the recovery is just important. Obviously, your lawn probably gets more foot traffic on those days than any other time of year. So, looking at aeration, looking at wetting agents, looking at getting your watering for recovery will ensure that it bounces back and you get that awesome lawn you want for Christmas.
So the time this podcast comes out will be about 2.5 weeks from Christmas, I'd say. It is actually the perfect time, even if you haven't already, to start dropping the height, start preparing your deck for Boxing Day. If you get into it as much as I do, basically just scalp it right down, get the blower off, blow all the clip on, and just keep mowing at that height. The good thing is, most backyards you'll get a little bit of variable bounce, so you can nick off your brother nice and easy on Boxing Day.
I think you did a video on how to do your own backyard putting up cricket green in the past, so wicket. So check that out if you're looking on YouTube. Joe's got a great video on it.
Play an extra cover drive on that too, from memory. Now, away from sort of some lawn tips now and back onto some LSA stuff, we want to just give a shout out to some recently added LSA members. So these are turf suppliers that are either just started out turf farming, or they've bought an existing turf business, or they've been turf farmers for a long time and they've joined the Lawn Solutions Network. So we've been lucky enough to welcome a few new members this year. So we've got Mallee Turf, which are down in Mildura. Mick Brady down there at Mallee Turf has started a turf farm for the first time. He was a mowing contractor for a number of years, and he's got an awesome business down there in a pretty prominent spot in a really rapidly growing location. I don't know if you've been to Mildura lately, Nathan, but I got a shock. It's expanding quite rapidly, and he's got Tiff Tough, Sawalsa DNA down there on site, and he can get access to a bunch of other grasses too.
Mick and Sarah, great people, and we've had a bit to do with them this year, and just getting them up to speed with the products and everything they need to be set up as a Lawn Solutions member. So it's great to see what they're doing down there.
Wide Bay Turf, Andrew Fid's up at Wide Bay Turf, which is just outside of the Hervey Bay region. He's one of the best growers of Zoysia australis I've ever seen. The product that comes off his farm is absolutely first class, and he's been a very busy turf farmer up there the last couple of months. So big shout out to Andrew up at Wide Bay Turf. We've got Sarah from Coastal Turf, the northern area of New South Wales, the Northern Rivers region, I believe they call it, up there. And they've been a turf business for a long, long time now, Coastal Turf, very reputable company. And we're very fortunate they've come over to the Lawn Solutions Group, and they'll be selling Lawn Solutions varieties up there from now on. And a couple of ones closer to where we are here. Luke's Turf Supplies is a LSA member in the Windsor region now. Luke's been with us. I think he might have even started last year, Luke's Turf. Can't quite remember. But they're from a farming family there, and they grow grass in the Hawkesbury Valley region there in Sydney, and it's awesome quality turf. So I'd check out Luke's Turf. And Tikalara Farms, look, Tikalara Farms are a very important cog in the Lawn Solutions wheel. Basically, they're a large farm that is associated with a couple of businesses in Windsor. They moved their operations to Singleton to flood-proof their business. If you get a chance, have a listen to our podcast episode with Josh Muscat from Green Life Turf, who speaks about this a little bit. Tikalara Farms is, a pretty important supply chain cog in the Lawn Solutions machine. And we're not finished there with new members. Next year, we're pretty excited to announce we've got a couple of new Lawn Solutions members joining us. One from the Mount Gambier region, which we'll talk more about next year, and also in the Albany region in WA. He's not going to be happy with my pronunciation either way there, but basically the southwestern corner of Australia. We've got some tough supply coming into that region, so it's fantastic to see new growers join the network. Every one of them brings unique experience, local knowledge, and a real passion for the industry.
As you can imagine, the process of bringing on a new member isn't just something that you flick a switch and they start selling our product straight away. They've obviously got to get their farms ready for the new varieties. They've got to go through OSGAP certification for those varieties, which is an important part of our processes here for quality standards. So we work with these members and growers and farms over a couple of years before they're able to get to the point of selling the turf onto the market. So and we build a great relationship in that time. So it's really great to see, and we're excited. But yeah, the guys coming on board next year.
And milestones for this year, speaking more about existing Lawn Solutions members, we've had a couple of cool ones that I'd like to acknowledge on here. Our mate Earl Stanley from Earl's Turf up in Taree. Now, Earl and the Stanley family, Kai, Aidan, Janelle, and the rest of the crew there, they've had it pretty tough this year. I don't know if you saw the news. It was pretty hard to miss it, but sort of the Taree region there got pretty hammered by some floods. The Manning River there flooded that whole area, pretty significantly. And if you get the chance, even just Google Earl's Turf floods, and you'll see the damage that was done there. Yeah. We ducked up there a couple of months ago now, and the resilience of those people is incredible. It's no different to the turf farmers that experienced in the Hawkesbury Valley over the last few years. But to have a business that's been there for so long, be absolutely devastated by floods, get virtually your whole supply knocked out, houses on the farm, so much damage is incredible. But they actually celebrated, through all this madness, they celebrated their 40th year in business. And I know Earl was pretty chuffed. They put a video up on their Instagram, and his first words were, "Oh, what's this? A video, is it?" So it's typical Earl fashion. So big shout out to Earl's Turf and the team there. 40 years is huge in any industry, but in turf, with all the ups and downs they've had, it's a massive credit to the Earl's Turf team, and happy birthday, Earl. We also had the first AFL game played on TurfTalk, which was pretty exciting.
Yeah, that was very exciting to see. Sunnyside providing TurfTalk down there in the Barossa, Lindock Oval there. So, really, really great spectacle to see AFL played on a ground like that on TurfTalk. Aired nationally on TV. The ground looked amazing. So a lot of work went into that in the lead up, the whole project. Sunnyside was one piece of the picture, I guess, as far as the full project works with soil and getting everything right. But TurfTalk came up beautifully to finish it off.
It shone for Gather Round in AFL this year. There was 2 games played on it. And the beauty about this project is it produces an AFL standard level of field, but it's all done with all due respect on a council budget. So minimal inputs compared to the big stadiums we see, MCG, SCG, Sydney Football Stadium, and those sort of areas. But the surface they managed to produce was absolutely elite. So check that out if you haven't already. Another first in Australia for this year, which is quite exciting, was the first driverless tractors hit our shores. Now, we did a podcast with Corey Spady from Sabanto. Now, if you haven't looked at it already, check it out. Google Sabanto. Check out autonomous tractors. It's kind of freaky still. There's a number of growers in Australia that have these now. Coolabah Turf down in Echuca, Jimboomba Turf, southeast Queensland, Lilydale down in the Yarra region, and Bairnsdale have got robotic tractors on their farms, and also TurfCo here. So we get to see this thing in the flesh almost every day. And I don't know how you feel when you see a tractor driving around with nobody in it, but I still get quite concerned. But it's doing a good job.
It's quite a buzz seeing it for the first time for sure. And it poses quite a few questions as to how it all works, how it all comes together. Check out the podcast with Corey. He explains it really well. A lot of technical development that went into those machines and basically bolting them onto an existing tractor so that so that you can, just set and forget and walk away, so that they're doing a pretty monotonous job for our farms and increasing productivity in other areas, which is pretty awesome to see. Coolabah, Jim Boomer, Turfco, Lilydale, they've all got the first machines in Australia, first in the turf production, in the farming production industry in Australia, as far as I'm aware, in that capacity. So pretty cool that they're at the cutting edge of technology.
And to be able to retrofit and not buy a whole new piece of machinery is awesome for these farms, because if it's no good, you just chuck it out and you keep your tractor and away you go. But we haven't seen any tractors in dams yet, so the Sabanto is doing its thing really well. It's really, really exciting to see. Another thing I mentioned briefly before was we've used a lot of Stampede around our office here. So we've had the first, lot of Stampede harvested in Australia to be sent out for planting stock. So the rollout is well and truly underway. You will see Stampede hit the market in 2026, which is really, really exciting. It's harvested beautifully. All the feedback we've got so far is, it's always a nervous time when you release a new turf grass, because you obviously do your due diligence on the product, but to have it, in farms and in some projects now and to be getting some feedback is wonderful. You see it out here every day, Nath. It's just a healthier, greener-looking leaf. Not healthier, but a greener, broader-looking leaf, isn't it? It's really cool to see.
There's been a really nice big area just installed outside my window to my office, and I love looking at it every morning. We look at grass all the time, but this is kind of special. You can definitely see the difference in it and what it's going to provide for the Australian market. So, really exciting times for us, and can't wait to see what happens in 2026 with the release. And if anyone's wondering, we do get the question. We say 2026. Turf production's a process. It's very independent on environmental conditions. Logistically, it's a big operation to create a supply chain right across Australia. So when we say 2026, we are looking mid to late 2026 as far as official release for availability to the market. But that's going to be an evolution of what happens environmentally. And when we're ready to go, we'll make sure everyone's fully aware of it and excited.
Away from Buffalo and onto TurfTalk. Now, we ticked over, this is incredible to say, this has only been in the market for a few years, but we ticked over 9 million square metres of TurfTalk sold. We mentioned Linddock Oval before. Obviously, TurfTalk, the stats are assisted by the fact it's suitable on sports fields, so a lot more volume goes into sports fields and into home lawns, but it's pretty cool to see that 9 million figure up there, isn't it?
Big number, looking forward to 10 million. It just does so many things for different applications. Yep. So it's just been great to see, and it's just kicking goals in more ways than one.
And with our zoysia grasses, Australis is making leaps and bounds, particularly in the Sydney and the southeast Queensland market. There's an unreal buffalo alternatives for home lawns. If you haven't already, jump on Facebook and join some of the zoysia groups on there, and you'll see some great examples of Australis and how it's appearing in home lawns. And Segrange in home lawns as well, but also in the golf world. We're making some great inroads with Segrange in the golf world for a number of applications. There's a couple of courses down here that have it on bunker surrounds where they don't mow it as much, or green surrounds, or the surrounds of tee boxes where they don't have to mow it every week. They can leave it unmown and it looks fantastic. And a podcast milestone.
Spotify just dropped their yearly update for figures and things like that. So it's been really exciting to see. We've seen massive growth this year compared to last year. And I think that feeds off the fact that we're really thankful. So opportunity to thank you guys, our listeners, for tuning in and hearing what we've got to say and learning more about the turf industry and what we've got going on. So really thank you for everyone that tunes in.
And I suppose that's a result of the great access we have to some wonderful guests that we've had this year. I mentioned before we were able to do some podcasts at the ASTMA, the Sports Turf Managers Conference. We're also able to get a lot of people visit our facilities here, and we can record some podcasts. So you've probably checked a few of these out already, but we had some podcasts with experts from Australia, the US, the UK, and New Zealand. We had Alan Fitzgerald, which we filmed at the ASTMA, same as Mick Pascoe, who has an incredible amount of international turf experience. And then someone who's just starting out in the industry, Holly Abel, who was one of the Syngenta guests brought over from New Zealand, who works for PGG Wrightson's. And then we had people from industry giants like Toro, Syngenta, Trimax, and Sabanto, like I mentioned earlier. We had the crew from OzGap and also ItGap on the podcast. And then turf scientists. We're so lucky to have access to people like Dr. Brian Schwartz, Dr. Ambika Chandra, Dr. Jim Kearns, and Dr. Chase Straw. So every guest brings something different, insights, stories, new research, innovations, and some honest conversations about where turf grass is heading. So if you missed a few episodes, summer break is a perfect time to catch up. And if you're into turf, if you're into the industry, every episode is going to have something different for you, and you'll obviously learn something that you didn't know before, hopefully, which is the goal of all this stuff. So that's pretty much a wrap for us in 2025. It still feels weird saying 2025. Next year, 2026 is going to feel even weirder. But we've got a few cool things in the pipeline. I think the podcast will be even bigger and better next year.
Yeah, we're already got a few in the bank, actually. So, we're looking forward to releasing those in the new year. A couple of international guests already. We've got some people from countries that we haven't had guests from before, which is cool as well. So, really excited for that. And the Turf Talk podcast will be kicking on again in 2026, so keep an eye out.
I think one of the first or second podcasts out next year is someone who pretty much heads up virtually one of the largest research companies in the world, which is super, super exciting. We're really happy to be able to snag that interview, and it's a really good chat, so I'm sure you'll get a lot out of that. But that's about it. That's our 2025 wrap-up. It's been a massive year for LSA, the industry, and for our little Turf Talk podcast we run here. Just like to thank everyone for listening, for sending in questions, for being part of this growing community, and to all of our guests and brands that have jumped on and supported us this year. Have a safe and happy Christmas. Enjoy your backyard cricket and keep those lawns looking sharp. And we'll see you all in 2026.
Thanks, Joe. Let's get back to the golf.
Have you used on your Spotify Wrapped?
Yeah.
How to do it.
I did. You just open your account and it just...
Yeah, it does it for you. My top 5 songs are Up the Wires by Warriors Anonymous, the Melbourne Storm team song, Shotgun by George Ezra, which is Hallie's favourite, Hot Potato by the Wiggles, and the Mario Brothers rap.